Hit 12:30 on the dot. So we're going to make a start. So I will hand over to you, Joe, just do an introduction.
Good morning, everybody. So, as Sam said, my name's Jo. So, I'll be taking you through the majority of the content today, but Sam will be chipping in and challenging me with questions, no doubt. And she'll be stopping to look at your questions box as well during the session. So, I'm a qualified accountant. And my role day to day, I'm obsessed with software, as Sam said. So I support our network of offices with their software adoption, and I'm also really big on process as well. Yeah, that's why I've been asked to help with today. Um, so we'll start sharing our PowerPoint. Um, I'm not big on putting lots of words on a slide deck. Um, so I'll really try to talk around the slides. Right, let's move forward to the agenda then, because we don't need to see what I do for a job again, do we? Now, I just want to caveat that I looked over the questions that were coming in during Sam's last webinar with Helen, and I've really tried to answer the questions that were coming up. I literally went through every single question, said, and thought to myself, have I answered this in this webinar? So it's really been built around your queries there. So we'll get a bit technical here and there. So we'll talk about MTD for income tax, but really what I want to bring to life is how it's going to affect us day to day.
Yeah.
You know, when we're out there running our businesses or looking after our property portfolio. Then we're going to talk about how software is going to help us comply with those rules. I'm going to tease out some different situations, which I just want to make you guys aware of, because again, these came up during last time's webinar. And then, of course, me being obsessed with software, I'm going to talk about the benefits of software as well, just in a general sense. Just a caveat, I'm not going to be regurgitating what Sam covered last time, Sam and Helen have covered last time. So I won't be talking about penalties. I'll try to stay clear of things like filing dates. But if you want to remind yourself the recordings are out there, please go and revisit them. So I hope that's okay. Right, so quick recap then, if we can skip through. Oh, why have you got control of the mouse? I should do that, shouldn't I, really? Just a quick recap then about who's affected from April this month. So we're looking at individuals, and they have to have a gross income that's over 50,000 from self-employment or property income. You add those two together. What's from self-employment and property income? Add the two together. And when we're applying that test, we're looking at last year's tax return, the 24-25 tax return. And one thing that came out in the questions last time was when we're talking about self-employment, we mean sole trade, and those terms are sort of interchangeable.
Yeah.
Okay, you're working for yourself. It's not a limited company, it's not a partnership, and what have you. So all of that's self-employment, sole trade, same thing when we're talking about that. And a quick recap, I know this is looking far ahead, but MTD for income tax is being phased in, isn't it? So from April 26, we're looking back at 24-25 tax return, and we're applying that 50,000, and those thresholds start to come down as we can see moving forward. So I'll leave that up, but I'm sure we're all familiar with those. Now, more about that test then. I know we've mentioned this before, but I think it's really important. Those thresholds, so for this year, we're looking at that £50,000 threshold. That is prorated. What do you mean by that, Jo? What does prorated mean? I mean that if you've got a short period, if you start in that 24-25 year, you need to look at what that would have been had it been a 12-month period. Okay, and I'm an accountant, we've put some numbers to that, so I'll show you that in just a second, okay? As we've said before, when we're looking at that £50,000 test, it's a self-employment income plus that income from your UK property or your foreign property as well, if you've got it. And just to underline, what is gross income? It's the revenue, it's the turnover, it's that top line. It's before we've deducted our expenses. Last time we had some CIS subcontractors on the line, and just to reiterate, that's not the amount that's paid into your bank if you're a subcontractor in the construction industry scheme, put the teeth in. It's so before the tax is deducted.
Okay. Absolutely. And just Joe, before we go on, just because this is very relevant, we've had a question in, is gross income inclusive or exclusive of VAT?
It's exclusive exclusive. Interestingly, and I don't know why you would want to do this, but and this might be too technical, but when you're recording your income, when we're in the rules and we're applying MTD for income tax, you can include that if you want to, which is I find a little bit strange.
Yeah,
but when you're applying that test, though, that £50,000 test it's exclusive. Okay.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Right, let's move forward then. So this is me putting some numbers to that test. We'll just run through these quickly then. So in situation number one, I've got employment income 40,000 and I've got rental income of 12. Okay, so £1,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I in MTD for income tax? I am not. Now, although I'm over 50,000 because it's from employment, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
And so 12, we're only looking at the 12,000 and that's less than 50. Moving forward to the next one, we've got self-employment of 40,000 and rental income of 12. Now, clearly we'll add the two together and that is over 50. So I get caught for that one. And just to bring that pro-ratering rule to life, in this last situation, I start my self-employment during that 24-25 year. I start in January. And so there's only 3 months of my self-employment income in there, but my turnover was 30,000. So if we extrapolated that over a 12-month period, HMRC might say, well, that could be 120 grand. Okay, so potentially I could get caught with that one. Would probably need a chat with HMRC.
Definitely.
Okay, just to, we talked about who is affected and we've talked about the test. Just to reiterate who's not affected, partnerships, no. Partners, no. So if you are a part of a partnership and you've got partnership income, that's ignored. It doesn't apply, doesn't get counted within that £50,000 test. Limited companies, no. If there's only employment income, no. Okay, so again, if you are a director and you might have employment income or you might have dividend income, we're ignoring that. Okay. If you don't meet the test, I'm just going to say it explicitly because we had this question come up last time. What happens if I don't meet the test? Carry on as normal. Okay, that's no change. You can go early if you want to, but it would be entirely voluntary at this stage.
Absolutely.
But just a caveat, we saw that those thresholds are dropping over the next few years. Continue to check whether you're meeting those criteria in those future years. So it doesn't stop this year. Keep checking. Perfect. Okay. So this is the heart of MTD. What does it actually change if we apply that test and we meet those criteria and we're within the scope of MTD for income tax? What does it change? So this is it. You or the accountant or your bookkeeper, whoever is looking after you, perhaps it's you, as I say, must use software. Non-negotiable. We must use software to record our income and expenditure. We must use it to send quarterly updates to HMRC, and we must use that software to submit our tax return. And that last one is really important because if you're not currently represented by an accountant, you might have been used to logging onto HMRC's website and just popping your numbers in the screen to submit your tax return. You cannot do that anymore. If you are caught by MTD for income tax, you have to submit your tax return via software. Access to that website is it's not there anymore. It goes. Okay. What does MTD for IT not change? This is a strange one, isn't it? But I just want to reiterate that this is all about digital record keeping and the submission of the tax return and those quarterly updates. It does not change when the tax payments are due.
Exactly.
Not at the moment. It's just not a feature of it right now. So payment date continues to be the 31st of January. If you're making payments on account in July, that they still stand as well. And that tax return still needs to be filed by the 31st of January as well, following the tax year. So those dates do not change, payment dates and the due date for the tax return.
And I think just to clarify, when Joe says that tax return still gets filed by the 31st of January, that's the 5th filing. I think a lot of people get confused. We have our quarterlies, which is your 1 through 4 submissions, which will happen, during or just after the tax year. And then it's that fifth that is what we call a tax return, because it's the item that looks most like a tax return, because that's when all the other allowances and things get claimed. But we'll come back to that later on. But yeah, that's the fifth one.
Okay, we had a few questions crop up about registration. I know this seems crazy because HMRC should know about us, but registration not automatic. Okay, you have to actively register for MTD for income
Yeah.
tax.
Even if they have sent you a letter and said MTD applies and you must register and you will have to comply, you still have to register.
Yeah.
Okay, it seems a little bit counterintuitive, but that's where we are. So please make sure you do register so that you're not caught out.
Yeah, so even if you've got a government gateway for other parts of the tax system, you still need to register. Even if you're VAT registered already,
Yeah.
you still need to register. But if you've got an accountant, just make sure you know who's doing it,
Yeah.
because a lot of accountants would do the registration for
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Okay, so that was a bit of a scene set, but important. So we're going to go on to, what is this section called? Oh, how softwares comply, how software helps us comply. I'm going to get a bit technical here, but I think it's important that we understand what's happening with those quarterly updates, because that's going to map into the software.
Yeah.
Okay. So HMRC talks about an income stream when it comes to quarterly updates. That's really important because we need to be aware of income streams and quarterly updates when we come to picking the software that's right for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, these quarterly updates, we require a quarterly update for each self-employment. Okay, so if we've got a craft and we've got then and then we're lecturing and stuff like that, that would be two.
Yeah.
Two self-employments, two quarterly updates.
Yeah.
Okay. In contrast, though, if we've got a little portfolio of property, they are all pulled into one.
Yeah.
Okay. One quarterly update. And the same applies for any foreign property income we might have as well. Okay, so if we just move forward to the next one, please, Sam. And in those quarterly updates, what we've got to do, as part of the digital record keeping, we're going to record just the amount, the date, and what category we think those values apply to as well. And those categories are really denoted by the boxes on the tax return, if anybody's interested. But yeah, let's move forward then. What's included in the quarterly updates? Important to note, they're cumulative.
Yeah, key.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So obviously we're kicking off in April, so that first one will cover April, May, and June.
Yeah.
And then so forth. And so the next time in the following quarter, we'll be submitting 6 months.
Yeah.
We'll be submitting quarter one and quarter two combined. Okay. Now in the quarterly update, although I just said to you, we've got to record the date, the value, and the category.
Yeah.
When the quarterly update goes off to HMRC, it's only got the totals for the income and the totals for the expenditure, okay, according to those categories.
Yeah.
So in the quarterly update, HMRC cannot see the individual transactions, and we don't need to include other bits and bobs like bank interest and pension income and dividend income and employment income. They're only interested in self-employment and our property income, be it UK or foreign.
Okay, lovely.
Now, there are a few questions about this. I'll cover it off quickly just to give you a taster. We got the question about, do I record the transaction when it hits my bank account, or do I record the transaction according to the date on the invoice? Excellent question.
Yeah.
Up to you. So you can do it on a cash basis or you can do it on an invoice basis.
Yeah.
You'll have to make your selection about which one you prefer when you register for MTD for income tax. And once we've got that software license, if you are trying to deal with this on your own, in the software, you should be selecting which basis you've chosen.
Absolutely. Okay. And you should then adopt that process for every transaction in the tax year. Okay, so you can't just pick and choose per transaction or per month or anything like that. You stick to the basis you've elected for the whole of that tax year.
Yeah, yeah. And I obviously each to their own and it's entirely up to you, but I would consider what basis you're applying for your tax return, your year-end tax return.
Yeah.
Because ideally, in an ideal world, we want our quarterly updates to look very similar to what we submit at the year-end tax
Yeah.
return. Now, if you've got a 2-month delay before people pay you or you pay your
Yeah.
suppliers, they're going to look really different. And you want to just make sure that the tax return, I think, is aligned with whatever basis you choose for your quarterly updates, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But each to their own. As I say, if cash basis is easier day to day, you might prefer that.
Yeah.
Now, just in terms of sourcing software, there are 3 things I would recommend you do. Firstly, if you've already got software, it might already be compliant with MTD for income tax.
Yeah.
Go and check.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're VAT registered, it's very likely it will comply with MTD for income tax. If you've got an accountant, go and ask your accountant for their advice.
Yeah.
And also another source of information, HMRC have their list of approved software, and I've dropped the link there for you. But if you Google, find MTD for IT software, you'll probably come across this. Just make sure it's a gov.uk website.
Yeah,
that's all I would say, please.
Yeah, definitely.
This was a great question that I saw in the list from last time. But won't HMRC give me something to use? They're bringing this in. Why shouldn't they give me some sort of software? They are not.
No.
There is nothing that HMRC are going to provide. You have to source something, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But some software providers are offering a free solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it just comes down to what your need is, and your type of business that is going to potentially help you find and dictate what sort of software you should be using.
Yeah. Yeah. And another great question that I saw come up in the list, and it's not an easy one to answer, so it's a bit of a hodgepodge on this slide, but how many bits of software do I need? So, in a nutshell, it could be one, because you might be lucky to find one solution that does everything for you. So it does the digital record keeping, it does the quarterly updates, and it does the tax return as well. But you could have a medley. There could be a different piece of software managing each part of the journey. So yeah, it could be anything. Okay, so let's go through some different circumstances. So these are just some slightly quirky things, but I did see them coming up in the questions last time, and I know that we have lots of clients that fall into these buckets as well. Okay, so who am I talking to then? So I want to just cover off a little bit on CIS subcontractors. Joint landlords, so perhaps husband and wife, and we own some property that we're letting out, so we'll talk about that one. Self-employment and property income, so I've got a mixture. I've got, I'm trading, and then I also have some rental income, and then foreign property income. So I just want to signpost some bits and bobs that I want you guys to be aware of. So on the CIS subcontractors, we said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Please make sure you record your income gross. It's just going to lead to the most, accurate picture of how you're going on. Now, most softwares, you could achieve this. But what I will say is some software has built like a functionality specifically for CIS subcontractors that really helps them gross up the income for the tax and then keep tabs on the tax as well. As I say, it's not to say you have to have a specialist bit of kit, but some do it better than others if you feel that you might get into a bit of a muddle. So that's all I wanted to say on CIS subcontractors, okay? Right, joint landlords. I could probably talk for an hour on joint landlords, so I will try not to. So just some things to be aware of. We talked earlier about the gross income test, that 50,000 as it is for April 26. Now, if you've got a husband and wife situation, I'm just going to keep using that as an example. We apply that test to each landlord share. So we'll apply the 50,000 to the husband share, and then we'll apply the 50,000 test to the wife share. Okay. So I just want to say that out loud. Now, if we are affected and if we do meet those tests, then each landlord needs to submit a quarterly update. We don't combine it and do husband and wife together and off it goes. Each one, husband has to do his, wife has to do hers. Okay. And it could be dependent on the split of the income. Perhaps there's an unequal split, I don't know. Or potentially, the husband's got self-employment on the side. Be open to the fact that you might have one partner that is called by MTD for income tax and one that is not. Okay, we could have a completely different situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I want to just joint landlords take huge care when you're selecting software because I said just a moment ago, each landlord, if we're caught, we have to submit our own quarterly update.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And believe it or not, sharing information between joint landlords, not compulsory, not obligatory. So
Mm-hmm.
husband doesn't have to disclose this affairs to the wife and vice versa. Wife doesn't have to share it with the husband, okay? And as I said, I keep using husband and wife as an example, but it could be, siblings,
Friends,
whatever.
yeah, absolutely.
So consequently, not all software can cope with a property portfolio where there are joint landlords.
Yeah, very
Okay.
true.
Not in one license
No.
necessarily. Some can, don't get me wrong, some
Yeah,
can, but it's not a common feature. Okay. So
yeah,
if you're looking for simplicity and you want it all in one license, you want the portfolio, presented it all in one license, and then just multiple quarterly updates going out for the husband and the wife. That is a very specific piece of functionality. Please take care if you're trying to find a software that
absolutely.
copes with that.
Absolutely. And we will give some examples of software later on.
Oh, Sam,
I know.
you push me.
I
You push
know.
me. Okay, so I hope that's a bit clearer on what I just wanted to highlight on the joint
Yeah.
landlords there. Now, similar situation with the self-employed that have got property income.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, we were talking earlier about the fact that these are income streams and they each need their quarterly updates separately. So we need one for self-employment and we need one for the property income.
Yeah.
Again, not all software can cope with this in one license.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking to have that overview of what's going on in your self-employment and your property all in one place, not all software is going to be able to facilitate that. So you might have to have the self-employment in one license and then the property income in another license, and then each license is submitting the quarterly update in the back end. Okay. So yeah, not these aren't barriers or anything like that.
No.
I just want you to be aware when you're selecting your software.
Absolutely should be factored in.
Right, foreign property income. Good old HMRC keep bringing this stuff in, and then we have no idea how we're going to facilitate it.
Standard.
But foreign property income, this cropped up a little bit in the question last time. It's not a very common thing that software can deal with. And really the problem arises where it's the property income is trading completely within a foreign currency.
Yeah.
If it's dropping in, if it's, say it's in euros and it's dropping into a GBP bank account, into a pound sterling bank account, that scenario should be a bit easier to find a solution for. But if it's all in euros in a euro bank account, that one could be a bit tricky. And for the ones that do cope with it, you might find you need to upgrade your software license to get the multi-currency.
Exactly.
So it might not be cheap, is what I'm warning you about there.
Or as cheap.
Yeah, as cheap. Yeah. Okay. Shall we pause and see if there's any
questions?
Let's.
So we've had a few around sort of, I think more the year end. So the fifth submission, i.e. the tax return. So I think what people have generally been asking here is in relation to when these other income sources that are not caught by MTD actually get reported. And this is where this fifth submission, this tax return that we keep referring it to, this is where you disclose your pension income. That was one of the questions. It's where if you've got bank interest, this gets disclosed at that particular point in time. It's also where you claim other allowances and reliefs that may be available. Someone asked about, work from home adjustments. And again, that would come in that fifth, because obviously the quarterly submissions 1 to 4, they are literally only reporting income and actual expenditure. Any use of home claims or calculations are considered another sort of more accountancy adjustment that will only ever get disclosed in that fifth tax return submission. So I think that covers those ones. And then
so this one's employment income. So again, that would come in that year
exactly.
end. And as we said, they could be different products. You could have one for your bookkeeping day to day that's doing your quarterly updates, and then a completely separate bit of kit for your tax return, the year end, the fifth one.
Absolutely. And then we've got late adjustments. So again, this comes back to if in quarter, let's just stick with quarter one, you think you've reported everything, but maybe there's been some items that have been missed, you didn't quite see them in time, you'd lost the receipts or whatever, and you've suddenly found them. Wonderfully, again, because as Joe said earlier, it's cumulative. So when you submit the next quarter, obviously it's going to submit month 1 to 3 again, month 1 to 3 the tax year. So April, May, June will get submitted again with the second quarter's info. So you make sure that quarter one then has been updated to reflect any of these changes or omissions or things that haven't been quite right. You get those corrected so that when you submit quarter two, it's actually corrected and updated all of your quarter one stuff as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can keep doing that, obviously up until that last quarter, and it's ideally that last quarter submission, you want to make sure everything is pretty much as close to perfect as it can be.
Yep.
And
was there anything above this one?
Let's just have a look.
Oh, no, it's fine.
No, I think we've answered all the questions up to date, so I'll let you.
I'll move on then. So, I am here to obviously sing the praises of software. Now I know this NTD for income tax is obviously a change in compliance, but I think there are some benefits here. To aspiring business owners, to those that really want to get to grips with their numbers, if they're running a portfolio, a property portfolio. So the first thing is reporting. Yeah. If you've got your figures in some cloud software, you can get access to reports at any time. It can help you forecast. It can help you be aware of where there might be cash flow shortages. You can keep tabs on your customers, and also perhaps what you owe your suppliers as well if you're getting behind. Yeah. If it's cloud as well, we can collaborate. Yeah. Perhaps you want to bring in a staff member to help you keep on top of the books, or you've got a bookkeeper, or you've got an accountant. You can share that access with them, and you could both be looking at the figures, but you could be in Spain and the accountant could be, in Norwich, wherever. So yeah, much easier collaboration. And ultimately, if we're better equipped, we should make better decisions about the way forward. Yeah. And we should be more successful. Yeah. So yeah, that's a big plus for me, is the reporting and the insights. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really like hard work, and I think this is where software can really help us, because there's a lot that it can do to automate the bookkeeping. So if I've just put some examples up here, but if our customers are getting behind with their invoices, it can send out reminders for them. Bank feeds I'll come back to, so hold on to your hats with there, but this is part of that automation. Yeah. Receipt scanning. Now some of us might be aware of this on the line, but essentially what some of the apps can do is now snap pictures of receipts and scrape that information off there to help us keep tabs on things. So no more missing receipts, because we should just be able to snap pictures of them
there and then. Yeah, absolutely.
And then we haven't got this carry bag of receipts. I've seen clients wheeling suitcases of receipts.
Exactly.
Before.
And some of the data from HMRC shows that people using this this receipt scanning software, because you are doing it there and then, and you don't lose the receipts, as Joe said, obviously you are basically potentially reducing your tax bill, because you are claiming for more allowable expenditure, which is going to help. I've been stopped in service stations up and down the country because I'm stood there snapping all of my petrol receipts as I've just filled up, because I don't want to lose it. So it can really help with that side of things. And then wonderfully, as long as it's taken a good enough photo, because it always will keep the photograph behind it as well as pull off the core information, that then holds as your evidence. So if you do then subsequently lose that receipt, you can still claim the expense.
Yeah, because you've still got the image of it.
Because you've still got the image of it. So it really can help. If you're like me and things get shoved into a handbag that turns into a Mary Poppins bag, bottomless pit, you lose everything. It really can be a lifesaver. So, but again, we'll come back to that in a moment.
And what do I mean by auto-categorization? We talked before about the information that HMRC wants you to keep and maintain in those
Yeah.
digital records. So date, value, and category. And I said these are the categories of the essentially of the tax return. So
Yeah.
it'd be things like cost of sales, your direct purchases, that
Yeah.
sort of thing, or premises,
Rent and
or
rates always gets put together. So
yeah. So some of the softwares can help categorize it because they know, oh, whenever I see that supply, it tends to be for fuel, for for running the car or whatever it might be. So they can help, and they can
yeah.
help with rules and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, can just speed the bookkeeping.
Absolutely.
In terms of managing customers as well, I we've got empathy with you guys, and I know it's a lot of you are out there mobile trying to win the business,
Yeah.
and looking professional, I think is really important,
Mhm.
to your customers. So if we're using software, a lot of them have the ability to raise a sales invoice for you, raise
Mhm.
quotes or estimates, whatever you want to call them. And they look really nice, nice branding, nicely laid out, the VAT's all there and all of our details and what have you. So that's a really big plus for me. Because they've got apps, a lot of them as well, it means we can raise these invoices out on the road.
Yeah.
And the quicker we get invoiced, the quicker we get paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them as well have built up, they're collaborating with payment providers now. So they
Yeah.
do have, you can set up card payments and things like that so that
Absolutely.
your clients can pay you as quickly as possible because cash is king at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, I said hold on to your hats about bank feeds. Um, what are they? We talked about it in that on that automation slide. Now, if we're using cloud bookkeeping software, we can turn on a bank feed.
Mhm.
And essentially what this is doing is the bank is sharing information
Mhm.
into that license, into that software license, but it's only read only. So no one can transact on the account or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's basically like a read only bank statement.
Yeah.
I can't describe it in any other way, but it's digital and
Yeah.
and it's real time, and every day it will be dropping the transactions into the bookkeeping license. So again, no more missing bank statements. I know I
Mhm.
used to have to chase clients for that all the time, like, oh, we're missing, and it'll be right in a sequence as well. So you'll
Yeah.
have the ones before and you'll have the ones after, but there'll be some
Yeah.
listed in the middle. So yeah, all those days are gone if we can set up a bank feed. So it's really going to speed things up. It's really going to improve the quality of our record
Absolutely.
keeping.
And Joe, just because I know this question does come up, so obviously because they're linking bank accounts and obviously there'll be some kind of login authentication process, how safe are those details within that software?
Well, I mean, yes, you are, but it's a very, very specific share of information.
No,
So, as I said, we cannot transact on the account. Nobody can
there's
with that.
no way someone can get
No,
access to your bank or anything
no,
like
it's
that.
literally just information
Fabulous.
sharing. There's no access whatsoever
No,
to the bank
good.
account.
So it really is so safe and secure because obviously the banks have worked with these software companies to
Yeah.
make sure it's secure because it is a risk in this day and age. We have to be, aware of cyber security and all this other stuff. So they have made sure, and that's why this function works so well. It's been tried, it's been tested. Your financial data is safe within these platforms, but the day-to-day benefits can really help.
Yeah, completely. We've had a good question in there. Sorry,
Yes.
Wayne, I should have covered this off. We talked about receipt scanning, and I said, oh, it's an app on your smartphone. You
Hmm.
can just snap a picture. You can email them in often as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And I think with some of them nowadays, you can set up direct links, can't you? With
There's also
suppliers, and it will just automatically
yeah,
send them into the product. It's very clever what you can
you could
do.
do rules. Yeah, lots of them have drag and drop as
Yeah,
well, where you can log into the website. So all
exactly.
sorts of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if there's just an attachment on an email,
Yeah.
just by sending that email in, it will automatically look not just in the body of the email, if there's sometimes stuff in that, but it will open and look at the attachments as well. So yeah, very, very clever.
Yeah. Claire's asked a question about what's the average price of software. It could literally be zero,
Yeah.
or it could be a few pounds,
Yeah.
depended on the functionality that you need.
Exactly.
And we're just going to go through a list of the different quirky bits that you need to consider, and some of them might have an impact on your software license costs as well. They might drive it up.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it could be nothing, could be a few pounds. but if our needs are a bit thirstier, then we could see the price go up.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, just before we start that list then, we had some questions in, quite a few, about the need for business bank accounts.
Yeah, we did.
Because we just talked about bank fees. They really only work if there is a nice clean bank account to look at. Okay.
Yeah.
So in answer to the question, so this is kind of outside of MTD actually. This is just a tax thing. Do I need to have a business bank account? They're quite expensive. That's what the feedback was in their questions last time. You do not have to have a business bank account unless you're trading as a limited company, then you do.
Yes.
But if you're a sole trade, if you're running a portfolio of property, no.
Yeah.
Okay. The simple answer is no. But there's always a but.
And there is a big but.
Do check your bank's T's and C's, because I suspect if you looked in them, they would say, for a personal bank account, they would say this personal bank account should not be used for business purposes. So we could be in breach of our bank's T's and C's, which isn't a happy place we should be in, really. And also, if we use a personal bank account for business purposes, if HMRC ever came knocking on our door and said, Sam, can I have a look at your affairs, please? And you had used a personal bank account for the business, they could look in that personal bank account. And I'm sure we've got nothing to hide, but I just don't like the idea of them rummaging around in my personal bank account. So just be aware of that, okay? But as I said, I think the big thing here is that it just keeps everything tidy. If we have all our personal stuff, all of our grocery shops and what have you over here in our Sky subscription, and then we've got the nice clean bank account for our business. I just think it just makes the bookkeeping so much easier because we can see the split there blatantly. And I know some, there's often a charge for a business bank account, but some are free and they're getting a lot cheaper these days.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, so do have a look around.
Okay, so this is just a little tick list then of things to watch out for with our software. So if we can move on to the first slide. Now, I would liken this. I was thinking, what's the example here? What's the analogy? This is a bit like choosing software for MTD is a bit like going to a restaurant. Okay, and we're going out for dinner, and then you pop off to the ladies, and you're like, just order for me, Joe.
Yeah.
And it might go okay if you don't have any dietary requirements, but it might be a complete disaster.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be better in that situation if you knew their dietary needs. And in this regard, I think, it could be fine, and we could just find something straight off the shelf that's, a market leading software that's commonplace, and it could be fine. But let's just go through this list because if there's something quirky, we just might need to take some care around which software we pick. Okay, so let's move on then. So first question, who's doing the bookkeeping? And I asked this for two reasons, because some of the softwares, as we've said, can really help particular groups of people, particular cohorts. And also if you're working with an accountant, if you've decided the accountant or the bookkeeper should do the bookkeeping, there are some really cheap licenses that only they can get access to.
True.
You can't.
Yeah.
So just make that, decide who's doing the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Do you want those, really professional looking sales invoices and those estimates? Because that, some products have it baked in, some don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so just be clear on whether you need to issue a sales invoice, because it looks so much nicer if it's emailed out rather than those carbon books or what have you. You know. Do you have credit with your suppliers? So what I mean by that is we go off and we buy some goods and then we pay 30 days later. We don't have to pay there and then. Okay. Now, some of the softwares can really help us keep tabs on the balances of those things. So we can post the invoice and then separately we can record when we're paying them. So just be clear on whether you've got credit with your suppliers or is it just cash on delivery or what have you. How are the bank accounts arranged? So, we talked about bank feeds earlier. I have, we see all manner of arrangements here. We could see one where there's self-employment and the property all in one bank account, or perhaps there's multiple bank accounts. So, if you're having a discussion with your accountant or your bookkeeper, just be clear with how the bank accounts are arranged. I am seeing people rearranging how their banking looks to help them
Yeah.
comply with MTD for income tax and
Yeah,
just make things a
absolutely.
bit easier. Okay. Um, we talked about CIS subcontractors earlier.
Hmm.
There are some products that can just really support you guys in your reporting and your compliance needs.
Yeah.
As I said, you can absolutely make most products work for you and
Yeah,
just take
there's
a
a
bit of
workaround.
workaround.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. But some have specific functionality designed to help you guys. Uh, if you're VAT registered, make
Yeah.
sure you're picking something that can facilitate the submission of your VAT returns, because not all of them can do that.
Yeah.
Um, and those rich insights as well. Do you need those reports? Because some products are, they're just designed to help you with your compliance. They're not
Yeah.
there to give you those deep insights.
Yeah.
Big underline here, if you've got joint property and you're looking for everything to be taken care of in one software license,
Hmm.
choose carefully, because
Yeah.
not all products will be able to cope with that. Same applies to number 9 as well. We talked about, if we've got self-employment and property income and we're
Yeah.
looking to manage it all in one software license, that's not a very common feature.
Yeah.
Let's just take some care when we're picking there as well. And number 10, as with most things in life, is there anything else? Do you need
Yeah.
departments? Do you need multi-currency? Just be really clear on your needs there when you're shopping around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So we're sort of getting to the end. So let's
We've just
just
got a
pause.
question. Yeah, we've just got a question. Do I need to scan and upload all receipts if my purchases expenses are already recorded on my bank statement, which is linked to Zero?
Now, my view is yes. I'd really rather we had the receipt somewhere, whether
Hmm.
it's in a carrier bag, or
Yeah.
a lever arch file or what have you.
Yeah.
Um, I think we ought to have either the digital
Yeah.
image of the
Yep.
receipt
Absolutely.
or we have the physical one,
Absolutely.
just in case.
Yeah, so I think here just to summarize, is you don't necessarily need to upload all of the actual receipts and scan them in. If the bank is actually recording all the core transactions, that's fine, but you would still need to keep those physical documents, because obviously HMRC, heaven forbid, if they were able to investigate, they can go back. I think it's like 4 years, but potentially in some very drastic cases up to 20, but we won't go into that today. But so you always need to make sure you keep those physical documents. If, as Joe said, you do decide to upload them, which I think in this day and age, we don't need to be storing all these things,
I didn't.
property is expensive enough. We don't want to pay for extra shelving, storage, and extra garage and this, that, and the other. If possible, utilize the technology to store it digitally, and then you don't have to worry about the physical. And again, it can help you out because unfortunately, I've had a client previously who had a fire,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then that was a whole different can of worms. So, having things digitally does protect you as well. So just be mindful of that. But, again, you've got all the facts now, so you can make your
Yeah, yeah.
decision.
So you don't have to upload them to Zero, but keep the
Yeah,
physical paper copies.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, right. Let's just rattle through these then. So how we can help. So in terms of software, as a national brand, we can often get really good pricing, better than you could probably get going direct.
Yeah.
Having said that, there are lots of deals out there right now. So
Very hard.
you
But have
might.
a look because some of these deals, they'll be very enticing to begin with because, like with a lot of companies out there, they want to entice you in with their wonderful, shiny new products. And it will be a great deal, some as like little as like £1 a month or something, but only for the first 6 months or only for a set period of time. And then, funnily enough, the price shoots up. And then chances are you've only just got used to that wonderful bit of kit. You don't always want to give it up, but then you feel that you're then tied into a much higher price. So do make sure you understand that when those deal offer periods end, you know how much you're committing yourself for. Because, providing the product is doing what it should do, you don't always want to have to keep moving software to software because it is a bit of a process that you have to go through. So do make sure you understand that. And like I said, it's worth having a look at, and speaking with your local accountant because they do get good deals that generally last. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and look, we have our favorite software providers,
We
and
all do.
it's impossible for us to be knowledgeable on every solution
Hmm.
out there. So you will often find that accountants or bookkeepers will have their little list of who they prefer to deal with.
Yeah,
And it's just so that we can help you guys and if anything
exactly.
goes wrong. Okay. So these are TaxAssist software provide partners, sorry. So we work with Intuit, we work with Xero, we work with Dext, and we work with Hammock. In a nutshell, I'll just quickly talk through those.
Mhm.
So QuickBooks and Xero, they are good all-rounders. So if you're self-employed, they'd probably be the ones that you might be familiar with, and
Yeah,
you'll see them advertising all over the place at the
yeah.
moment.
Especially if you're VAT registered, they're good products for
Yeah.
dealing with that side of things as well.
They are, they are. Then we've got Dext, and these are the masters of the receipt scanning. So
Hmm.
yeah, they're a bit of a hero in that area. But they do overlap with some of the functionality that you see within QuickBooks
Yeah,
and Xero as well. And then we've got Hammock, and this is a bookkeeping piece of kit that does your quarterly updates, but it's specifically for landlords. So it
yeah,
can help you keep tabs on the yields of your different properties.
yeah,
And if any sort of certificates are expiring or
yeah,
insurance is expiring,
yeah.
that can give you reminders. So if you're managing
Exactly.
your own portfolio,
Exactly. And manage the tenants in those properties
yeah,
as well. It's really quite a clever bit of kit.
yeah. So yeah, Hammock would be, but these are the ones that we just happen
Yeah,
to work with.
absolutely.
Others are out there, of course.
Exactly. And again, just to reiterate, because we are a national, as much as these are the ones we generally partner with, there's not to say if you've got your eye on something else, and you're interested in potentially going to work with and speak with taxists, still go have a word with your local taxist accountant because they are all individuals running their own taxist accountancy practice. So again, they might have different experience. So they're not adverse to working with other products. So
Yeah,
still do bear that in mind. But it's just generally we partner with these ones.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so just to sort of segment, I guess, if you like, the
Yeah.
different things that an accountant might do for you and taxes could do for you. So in terms of setup, we'll get you registered for MTD for income tax. We can help you with that software selection. Probably needs a bit of a conversation though, as we've said. We can help set the product up for you and
Hmm.
tailor it according
Yeah.
to your needs, so that it's all good to go. Help you with set up the invoice and things like that.
Yeah.
And give you some training about how to use it, so you're really confident,
Absolutely.
when you leave the office. In terms of bookkeeping, if you don't fancy it, we can do it for you, or we
Can.
can carve it up and you do bits and we'll do bits. If
Yeah.
you just want to do the invoicing, we can do the rest and look after the bank and the expenditure side of things.
Yeah.
Quarterly updates. Of course, if we're doing the bookkeeping, we'll naturally want to do the quarterly update as well. If you're doing the bookkeeping, perhaps we might check it and submit it on your behalf.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we talked about the year-end work as well. If you need accounts or if you need a tax return, we can take care of that for you
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and here to help at various stages.
Absolutely. And it's just worth saying at this point because I know some of you out there will have been doing things potentially by yourself up until now. And maybe this MTD transition, you're a bit more hesitant and thinking actually maybe you could do with some support. But I know that sometimes there's a bit of a barrier. And if you haven't worked with an accountant before, it can feel a little bit strange and potentially feel a little bit exposed. And also you're going to worry about the cost. Because obviously working with the accountant, you have to pay them for their services, their skills, their knowledge, which is absolutely right. But don't let it put you off going for a free initial consultation with your local tax accountant because they will happily talk you through the options, what stuff you could do, what stuff they could do for you. And it might be that you sit down and you have a look at the quote and the price together and you think, well, actually, that price is a bit high for me. But actually, maybe if I did these bits myself, that might mean that I pay the accountant a bit less. But then I still get peace of mind that the accountant is checking what I'm doing and that we're claiming everything we could possibly claim for to make sure that we are not paying a penny more tax than we have to. So don't be afraid to have those conversations. You are very much entitled to come to that initial consultation and go away and make a decision based on everything you've learned and heard as to whether you want to proceed or not. There's no force signing up. You won't feel
No.
cornered at all. We just want to have an open and honest conversation with you and show you how we can help and work with you, and then you're free to then make your decision. And that's what sort of Tax Assist is all about.
Yeah, and I think also, and this is just a general thing in life, sometimes we think, oh, well, that's free, so that's the best option, so I'll do my bookkeeping because that's free. But it might cost you in the long run because
Yeah,
actually you lose your Sundays
yeah,
because you're that sat there
yeah.
typing
Can't
up
be on a golf course,
yeah,
can't be
or
out
with the
shopping,
kids or
spending time with family.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, I'm very keen on using tradespeople that are expert in their fields
Yeah,
because I try to have a go at these things and it ends up just being a
yeah.
disaster. I don't even paint my house anymore. I always get somebody in to do it because I've tried it. It looks awful.
Yeah,
So I think it's one of those, that
exactly.
let's do what we're both good at.
Exactly.
You
And you don't always know what you don't know. So again, having that expertise in that field, they will know certain things that maybe you haven't come across before.
yeah,
So it's definitely worth having that sort of safety net.
yeah,
And I think we've just got one more question just come in. Just to confirm, if you are a limited company and not VAT registered, MTD does not apply and it's business as usual.
correct.
Absolutely spot on. I think there's two things in that. Limited company, as Joe rightly said at the beginning, does not come under MTD for income tax. So being a limited company, being a director of a limited company with nothing else, you're not got to worry about MTD for income tax. VAT is a very separate thing, and there is MTD for VAT. So whether you were a VAT registered limited company, a VAT registered sole trade, a VAT registered partnership, you would be brought in to MTD for VAT, which is very separate to what we've been talking about today.
Yeah,
Just to be uber clear on that.
yeah.
Um,
Claire's had a
oh,
bad experience with QuickBooks. Now, one thing I would say is I don't know what the specifics there were.
yeah,
But we are QuickBooks' biggest UK customer, so I hope that if there were ever any problem, that we'd try and find a solution for you as quickly as
exactly.
possible.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a very good relationship with us, but it's like anything, it's finding the right product that suits you, your capabilities, but also what you want out of the product as
Yeah,
well. And it's making sure that not everyone wants to be using the same product because there's different advantages, disadvantages, and this, that, and the other. And again, a good thing about working with an accountant who has got a specific software they work with, it's not just the fact that you'll lean on the software provider for support and help and guidance. Your accountant can help you. And again, one of the things we pride ourselves on is we are local. You can walk into our shop fronts and literally be, I've got all these issues with QuickBooks. It's not doing what it says and it's done wrong things here. Help me. So rather than sitting on a phone or on a web chat, you can come in and see us
yeah,
and we can actually sit down with you, help you get it all sorted. And that makes things 10 times easier in a
yeah,
lot of cases.
yeah,
There's not to say things can't be done remotely in this digital age, but it's sometimes nice to sit down with someone. So, hopefully, Claire, you find something that works for you. And again, these products, these software companies move so quickly nowadays that a problem you could have had years ago could have been easily
oh,
resolved
yeah,
and not an issue going forward. So don't put it off having a look at products and don't be afraid to go and test a few out. A lot of them
yeah.
come with free
Trials,
trials,
yeah,
so go
completely.
have a play and sit and see what, seems to work with you, and what you feel comfortable with. The user experience makes for a lot as well.
Yeah, completely. We've had a question about the recording of the webinar.
Mhm.
How's that going out, Sam?
So, what we're going to do is, I would suggest there is an email address. I think it's training@taxis.co.uk. So, as long as you're happy, and you send us an email saying that you'd like to be directly sent the recording, we're happy to send it directly to you. But for those of you, just be reassured, you don't have to do that. It will be uploaded on our website, but you'll just have to keep an eye out for it. That's the only difference. So if you want it a direct link, then you have to let us know so we have authority to contact you. But if not, it will be uploaded on the website. And I would say, depending where we are today, with Thursday today, it will probably be, as an absolute latest by end of next week.
Yeah, yeah.
All
I think
right.
it's
So we're
successful.
generally try and be pretty quick, but I can't see any other questions coming in. And if I just pause for a moment, if you have got any burning questions, now's the time. We've literally got sort of just over 4 minutes. So happy to stay and answer any final burning questions. But if not, I'll just bear a minute. Can't see anyone typing. Can't see anything coming in. So no, I think what we'll do then is we'll sort of hang about as you guys start to leave. But if you've got no questions for us, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, encourage you to research software, go speak to your local accountant, whoever that may be, and get any advice that you may need. And yeah, and just
Trials, as you said, that's an
trials.
excellent
Just
piece
keep
of
an eye on our
advice. Yeah.
website. We try and educate clients of ours as well as anyone that isn't a client of ours as much as possible, because we're all in this world to help each other. So do keep an eye on it, and we'll try and offer guidance. And again, if there's any other topics that we've not covered that you'd like to see, maybe us do a live webinar on, let us know. More than happy to look at things that
Yeah.
are going to help
Pop it in
you.
that email,
Yeah, pop
email
it in the
address.
email. Again, it's training@taxassist.co.uk, and it will come through to me, and I will keep an eye on things. And again, if there's anything that seems popular, I will happily look to put something on. And I think that's where we'll wrap up. So thank you so
Thank you,
much for
everybody.
joining,
Enjoy your
and have a
afternoon.
good one. Take care.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Bye.